Hey!
Oh,
Why am I
finally-
always the first in? Why am I always the first in?
Because
I don't-
you're Monica.
What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing that takes you so long to sit down?
We wait for you.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. I mean, we got
Okay.
this right, Russell, or rather, I got it wrong. But more importantly, hi everyone. I'm Jen, aka Joey, and that's Percy, aka Chandler, no longer Ross, and that is Ange, but really she is Monica in Hong Kong. But more importantly, we are live and welcome to Dear Future Grandkids. Now, this is a show where we ask an interesting guest a big question. What would you say to your future grandkids?
So, how you all doing today? Thank you so much for joining us on Facebook and on YouTube. I'm really excited about our guest on today's show. He has traveled to 194 countries without flying, and he's still counting. I think I've been in a total of 20 countries, and a lot of them with Monica over there. Good for me, bad for her.
I think I've been to about 38 countries, I think, last time I counted. And yeah, many of them with both of you. I suppose it's easy when you grow up around Europe because you can do like 5 countries in one day. But I can't imagine getting to all of them without flying. How about you, Jen? How many have you been to?
Yeah, I think I've been to a total of 35 countries. I think 8 with you, and I think 3 with Percy as well. But just can you imagine going to all these countries without flying, which is what makes our next guest so amazing. So today we're building a video time capsule for a person who started his quest of traveling to every country in the world without flying, which means he had to get from place to place by cars, boats, ships, bullet trains, tuk-tuks, and even camels. He started his journey in 2013 from Denmark, where he's from, and is now just 9 countries short from completing his journey. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Thor! What a name!
Hey,
name.
hello everyone. How are
Hey,
you?
Thor.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. How are you doing today, Thor?
Oh, I'm very good. Weather is lovely. It's dry. It's a beautiful day. I'm here in Hong Kong, so what could I complain about?
Oh, man. Okay, can I just tell you that we envy you? You travel to 194 countries, and I'm thinking I need to go out more.
It's nothing to envy, I promise you. Perhaps some of the experiences I've had and the people I've met, but to go out and do this in one line and not return home until the end is not something that you would be envying.
Well, since 2013, you must have a lot of memories. Can you tell us some of those experiences that you've had?
Most of the experiences I've had have either been tied up to transportation, because it does involve a lot of transportation, sitting inside buses for hours or days and trains and so on. But a lot of the memorable experiences, they're tied up to people. It's truly a people project, and I've met an incredible amount of people across this planet. And then there are a few memories that sort of pop up or stand out. Like, I remember being on board a ship in a storm going across the North Atlantic in the wintertime, and the ship was all over the place, and thunder and lightning, and the ocean was spraying up over the containers, and waves were crashing in left and right. And it went well enough, but the storm lasted 4 days, and I was really scared, and I'd never seen anything like that before. So that really stuck out. And then the day after that, after the storm ended, the ocean went absolutely flat, completely. I've never seen it like if you have a glass of water, that kind of flat, but the entire ocean. And it had this deep blue color, and then you could see small ripples once in a while. And every time there was movement at the surface, it was because there was a whale or because there was a dolphin. And then when the sun went down and the night sky covered the ship and the stars came out, we had, because we were so far north, we had northern lights dance across the sky. So that was really memorable. So and that's, that was from one voyage across the North Atlantic, both the storm and all of that. I've been fortunate to see a rocket get sent into space from Cape Canaveral, And while doing that, I realized I've never seen anything leave this planet before. It was the first time in my life I saw something leave the planet. Birds, they take off and they land. Airplanes take off and they land. If a rocket, for New Year rocket celebrations, you shoot it off, it comes down. You shoot a bullet into the sky, it comes down again. Everything comes down to this planet. But that rocket left the planet and went somewhere else. And that was really astonishing. What else do we have? I've seen some incredible artifacts and archaeology. I made it down to Peru, and I was fortunate to go and see Machu Picchu, which is so well preserved, and the setting is stunning in between the mountains, and the clouds come in, and you've got the llamas, and I'm not sure they're llamas. They might be some, but they look like llamas too.
They look like llamas? If
From,
you say so, then we believe they're llamas.
yes, they were llamas, and they were walking around, and it was just truly astonishing to see that kind of history in between the mountains and explore and experience it. And then food, eating insects and trying new stuff. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on and on. The stuff I see. Yeah, what?
No, I mean, I'm just fascinated because if we were in a family reunion and we were together, like I can just listen to you for like 3 days talking about stuff you're describing, man.
Well,
So-
yeah, it's 7 years of experience. It does accumulate.
It does. Well, listen, the title of the show is Dear Future Grandkids, and right now we feel like we are your grandkids telling your stories. Have you ever imagined yourself as a grandfather? There you go. We imagined it for you.
I might just look exactly like that.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there I go.
It's like a cynical
I'm a pretty
Father
good-looking grandfather.
Yeah.
You are.
I should get there
Yeah.
fast. Yeah, I like the look.
Yeah.
Yeah, you like it?
Oh,
There you go.
especially with that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
cool.
Oh, that's
You look really
I
cool.
look like my father in that one. That one makes me look like my father.
you go.
Aw.
Oh,
Hey.
really cool traveling granddad.
I have thought about growing old and having grandchildren, and the stories I would tell them. And I think I would be the kind of grandfather that has no tolerance whatsoever. So when the children, they say that they're hungry, then I would tell them, hungry? What do you mean hungry? I remember the time I was in that country. I didn't eat for 3 days. You don't know about not being hungry. And if they say, "But I'm cold," I say, "Cold? Do you know when I was in Greenland, it was so cold that my nose over the..." Say, "I'm hot." Hot? What do you know about hot? So...
Hey, grandfather, I can't get to the to the other side of the road because there's traffic.
What
So
do you
you're
mean you
just
can't
like,
get
"What
to
do you
the
mean?"
other side of the road? I remember when I was crossing the roads in Tehran. That was the most crazy traffic in the planet.
There you go.
Your grandkids have a lot to live up to. That's true. That's a really good point.
Mhm.
So we're going to start you off with some quick fire questions to get to know you a little bit better. So in 3 words, how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling really, really good. Until quite recently, I had a big beard, and the reason why is because I only shave when I see my fiancée. And we recently got married, and she was able to come and reunite with me here in Hong Kong. So I shaved, and she's here in Hong Kong with me now. So I'm feeling really good about that.
Congratulations.
Thank you
Yes,
very
'cause
much.
Yes, because when we had dumplings together a couple of weeks ago, you had this massive long beard. I think it'd been 17 months between shaving.
Yeah,
and shaving.
19 months, in fact. I believe I told you 17 months, but I recalculated, and it was 19 months.
It was a very distinguished, very kind of Lord of the Rings beard.
Yeah.
You could be
You
cast
can
in
see my
any-
neck now. That was gone. The beard came down here.
You look 20 years younger, I have to say.
Well, I don't feel 20 years younger.
All right, so tell us, where were you born? I know you've been everywhere, but where were you born? Bring us back to your origins.
I was born in Denmark. That one right there is Denmark, in the center of the world almost. And very quickly after being born, we moved to Canada, and we moved to the US, and then we came back to Denmark again later on in my life.
And where are you now, right now?
Right now, I'm in Hong Kong. I could point that out as well. But I'm in Hong Kong, which is a special administrative region of China.
And you've been stuck here waiting for your last 9 countries, haven't you? You've been stuck here for how long was it supposed to be?
I came to Hong Kong for transit only. So I'm not counting Hong Kong as a country within this project. And I had to connect between 2 different countries. So I came here on board a container ship, and it was supposed to be 4 days. And then it was prolonged due to Chinese New Year. And then the country I was trying to get to closed its borders due to a virus that the newspapers started reporting on. And then a few months after that, it was declared a global pandemic. And I've now been here for more than 400 days.
For 4 days.
The 400 days.
Oh my goodness.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
tell us, where did you go to school?
I went to, I've done a lot of school in my life. So I started out, the first school I had would have been in Canada, some really early, learn the alphabet, learn the weekdays kind of stuff. And then again, when we moved to the US, a little bit about, again, the alphabet and how to tell the time and that kind of stuff. And then when we moved back to Denmark, I was almost 7 years old. So I started formal school right from the beginning in Denmark. And that was in a small fisherman's village called Kerteminde on the center island of Denmark, which is called Fyn. And then 3 years after that, we moved to another part of Denmark where I grew up and had most of my childhood and went to school for 8 years. And then I decided to go to business school after that. And I did that in a nearby city called Silkeborg, which is a very, very beautiful, picturesque place. And then later on, I got into shipping and logistics, and I became a shipping trainee, and that was in Copenhagen and in some of the cities nearby Copenhagen. And then I've done some studying online as well. So lots and lots of places.
Well,
You are
lifelong,
You're a traveler.
Yes.
So I'm curious because you don't fly in these 194 countries that you go to. Can we just go back? Do you remember the first time you flew on a plane?
No, because I wouldn't have been able to walk the first time I flew. I was born in Denmark, but then almost immediately, maybe within a couple of months, we left to go. My father got stationed in Canada. So I was flying within the first few months of my life. And then we had to reconnect with family in Denmark. And my mother is from Finland, so we went to Finland quite frequently also to visit family. So there was lots and lots of flying going on in the early days of my life.
So do you remember the last time you flew on a plane?
2 weeks before this project began, and this project began on the 10th of October 2013. But 2 weeks before this project began, my girlfriend at the time, my wife today, and we decided to do a marathon together. And we'd been training for 6 months for this marathon, and that was in Berlin, in Germany. So we flew from Denmark to Berlin and booked us into a hotel, ran the marathon, and then a day later we flew back home again. So about 2 weeks before the 10th of October 2013.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, you said some of the jobs that you did. What was the best job you've ever had?
Legoland. I was a pirate at Legoland, and the hands down, there's no way. I don't think I'll ever have a job that good again.
You got me at Legoland. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm envious.
So Lego is a Danish product, and the first Legoland in the world was built in Denmark, and it must be close to 50 years old now, or 45 years old now. And it was a summer job, and there was no future prospects in it. It's low wage, and you're not going anywhere, but you're having a great time. So you're showing up at this park every morning to people who come with expectations of having a good day. They want to go on the rides. They want to see all the miniature buildings and cities, and they're hoping for good weather and have some candy and just have a great time. So everyone's there smiling and happy, and I'm dressed up as a pirate with big shoes with big buckles on them, and They gave me a Lego sword, and then I could walk around and lose sword fights with all the children. And then whenever I wanted to, I could sneak up behind the parents, and then I could put the sword around their neck, and they go, "Arr!" And the children would laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. That was the job was so good that I came 15, 20 minutes early every day just to be there.
I'm envious, and you do a mean pirate roar. Can you do that again? Because we just need to hear it again. Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Man. That's why you do good. That's why you do well at sea. Because you're a pirate. You're already a pirate.
I always want to go towards the other ships. It's strange.
Okay, that's the best job you ever had. Really good job, I must say. What's the worst job you ever had?
So there was a factory. I was in the army a long time ago, and then I trained to become a United Nations peacekeeper. And we trained for a mission, and then the mission was on hold, so we had not been deployed yet. And the army base sent us home and said, "You're on standby, but you're going to be on standby probably for 6 months. So you have your salary from the army, and you're welcome to go out and take a job if you want. But it has to be something you can drop in a second if we call you and we deploy you." And they did. They deployed us and we went to East Africa. But so the job that I disliked was a job that I could take and drop in a second. And I was working for a temp company. So they were sending me left and right. And a lot of those jobs were fun and interesting. I was meeting a lot of people and getting behind the scenes of different environments and so on. But then they called this temp team to say, "We need 2 guys." And this was a factory that makes cat food and dog food. And they can it. And what had happened was that something had gone wrong with the programming. So there was 0.0 something % too much in the cans. And in some cases, the cans were fine. But in some of the cans, they broke and they sort of bulged. And that meant that the dog food and cat food was coming out. And that meant that maggots were going in. So they had these pellets, which were mixed between tin cans that were okay and tin cans that were covered in cat food and dog food and maggots. And no one at that factory wanted to touch that. So they called some of us outsiders, and we had to go through all of them and find out which ones were fine and which ones were ready to explode with maggots and cat food and dog food. And that was a horrible job.
I am never going to complain about any job that I have.
No. It's the most extreme from the best job from being a pirate on Legoland to picking out cans of dog food and cat food with maggots in the
maggot remover.
Terrible.
Maggot remover. Is that what's
Sound
under?
and the smell and it wasn't a good job.
I guess that's not on your CV then.
No.
Yeah. So
Old
that
days.
for sure, it's something that you won't choose to do. But if you could choose to do anything for a day, what would it be?
Be a rock star. As long as I don't have to sing. Just to go up on stage and go, yeah, do this kind of stuff for a day. Yeah, welcome everyone. Yeah. I would do that for a day. Sign autographs and go and get the photos done and
Without
live
the
in a
singing.
fancy hotel and break everything and go, yeah, I'm a rock star. I would do that.
Definitely along the lines of a performer for you. That's where you're headed to. So, okay, so you've been a pirate in Legoland. You want to be a rock star. But what is your favorite game to watch or a sport to play?
A sport to play. I like skiing. Is skiing okay as a sport?
Yeah.
Here in Hong Kong, I've taken up a lot of hiking. I really love the hiking here. I'm not much of a team sport player. I haven't done a lot of that in my life. I've done a lot of kayaking or running and stuff you can do on your own, and I enjoy that kind of stuff. But I'd probably go with skiing if we allow that as a sport to play.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any favorite game or sport that you like to watch?
I don't really like watching sports. I like taking part. So it doesn't matter if I know how to play or if I fully know the rules. I like getting invited and just joining and being a part of it. I don't think I ever watch sports, ever. Certainly not on TV or anything like that. Maybe if I'm on location and you can hear everything and you're chanting and you get a sausage and a Coca-Cola or something like this, a soft drink, then I like it. But I'm not sports. It doesn't really ring any bells with me.
Okay, fair enough. And of course, we know in your travels that you don't fly, so obviously you've taken all kinds of mode of transportation. But
Right.
what would you rather do? Ride a bike, ride a horse, or drive a car?
Horse sounds like fun.
Ride a horse? Yeah.
Yeah. I would love that. So I don't mind driving, but driving doesn't really interest me. And I do find that driving, you lose out on a lot when you're driving. You don't get the smells and the temperatures and well, it depends on the car, I guess. If it's a broken car, it's slow when the windows are open.
You haven't been to my car, I think.
But and the bicycle, it just seems like a lot of work. When you're going uphill and it's sweaty and the sun is shining and this kind of stuff, and then you have a flat tire or the chain breaks and this kind of stuff. But the horse is almost like it's company. You talk to the horse and you go, "Oh, you look tired. Let's stop. Here's some hay," and you feel like a cowboy kind of, and you're going really slow. So you really experience and you meet people, and people say, "What are you doing on a horse?" I say, "Well, I'm riding the horse. How are you doing today?" You get people. Yeah.
A conversation starter. So in your travels, did you ride horses in any leg of your journey?
No. I
No?
know I did. I did ride horses at Legoland back in the day. We had horses.
Pirates on a horse. Why not?
Don't have much horse riding experience. I've tried for fun here and there, but not as a means of transportation.
Fair enough. So you've been to 194 countries in this leg of your journey, just short of 9. This is probably a tough question for you, because if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Well, I like home, Denmark. So I would certainly go back home where I grew up, where I know the weather patterns, and where I know the language and the culture, and where my friends and where my family is, and where I know the streets, and where everything is familiar and comes a little bit more easy because that's where I'm from. But if we were to make it a little bit more interesting and say I cannot return home, then where would I go? Then I would pick Iceland. I'm really fond of Iceland because Iceland is adventurous. It has volcanoes and glaciers and rivers, but at the same time, it has a modern society. And it's a relatively small population with only 300,000 people, which is like almost big village size. And I would choose that over a big city environment. And people are super friendly and they get everything immediately. The new telephones, the new smartphones, the newest movies, everything gets up there immediately. But they're isolated at the same time, which I really like. The main thing for me about Iceland, though, is a mentality that they seem to have in Iceland, which most other countries do not have. And that is that you are welcome to pursue something in life which is out of the ordinary. So in Denmark, where I grew up, you're sort of put on the conveyor belt of life, and then you just follow that conveyor belt right from the get-go. So you clean your room, you help your mother, and you do this you go to school, you do your homework, and you grow up, and then you get further educated, and eventually get a job, and you start holding hands with someone, and you fall in love, and eventually that becomes a family, and you get a car and a cat and a dog and a piano and insurance and a pension plan, and you just follow this until you draw your pension and you grow old, like in the photos before, and then it's over, and that was it. And if you have aspirations, if you're dreaming and saying, no, I want to be an actor or an actress, or I want to be an athlete, or I want to be an author, or I want to be something which seems a little bit risky, then my parents would immediately say, you can dream about that, and you can have it as a hobby, but you have to go out and get an education and get a real job. That's where the safety is. And in Iceland, it seems that it doesn't matter if you want to pursue some of these more atypical things, that there's a lot of support in society, and it seems more common. If you've never written a book and you decide that you want to write a book about your garden, then people wouldn't come and say, don't do that, nobody's going to buy it, you're going to waste your time. People would rather say, I have a spare room, you can stay there so you're not paying rent. I know a publisher, I'm sure we can get this done. I know someone who wrote before, maybe you can meet that person and you can connect and get some ideas. And I really like that about Iceland, that it seems more open to interesting ideas than most of the world, which seems very conservative.
Yeah, I've been to Iceland before, and my tour guide, every tour guide you met, I used to be a teacher, and then I was a journalist, and then I was I did this, I tried this for a while, and I thought, be a tour guide, because why not? Yeah, I think I totally agree that the spirit of it, and it's always, why not? Whereas everyone else asks why in life.
Yeah.
And they're just going, why
Good
not?
point.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's great. I think Iceland, they have one of the quickest turnovers, fastest turnovers. On average, people stay in a job like 2 years, I think, in Iceland, something like that. Which is really fast versus the rest of the world, who stay in their job for like 40 years, 50 years until they get the gold watch, and then they head to some sunny retirement. So yeah, it's cool. That's a really good way of thinking about it. That's excellent. So Thor, we know that you're in Hong Kong, and we know that you are only intended to travel for 4 days in Hong Kong. So we know you don't have many belongings. I wonder if you could just pick up your computer and give us a quick tour of your stuff. Like what takes you around the world in 7 years? What do you have?
Sure, let's have a quick look. So there's a microphone here in front of me, and then there's this bowl which the laptop was on top of. If we look over here, I have a small bag and a jacket and some of my running clothes. This would be considered my clutter. I have some paperwork, some business cards, and a microphone, a watch, some external hard disks, and some for the public transportation in Hong Kong. There's a guitar on the wall over here, but that guitar does not belong to me. It was here when I moved into the apartment, and I don't know how to play the guitar. The map is mine as well.
Oh, the map is yours. Ah. But yes. Since you've been traveling around for 7 years, how big is your stuff?
Yeah, how big is your bag? I'm curious about that.
I have a duffel bag, which is about yay big. I don't know if it's in the camera here, but it's about this big. And it's round, so this much volume, sort of like a short sausage. It's called a duffel bag, and you unzip it, and then you just have one big room inside. And I put everything in there. I put my sleeping bag, I put my hammock, I put my mosquito net, I have my clothing, I've got books, I've got all the electrical wires that you need to charge all sorts of stuff today, because we travel with electronics. I travel with my laptop. I'm a Goodwill ambassador of the Danish Red Cross, so I have various Red Cross material that I travel with me for photos and for recording information and so on. Extra shoes for running, and I guess that's about it.
So you pack all your essentials into one massive big bag.
And it's super organized. I've packed that bag and unpacked it and packed it again a gazillion times over. So blindfolded, I can find whatever I need within that bag. I know exactly where everything is stored.
I'm just so happy. That's exactly what you want to happen in the world.
Sorry.
You've made my day.
Very happy. Yeah, you made a mistake.
Oh yes. Being
organized. I'm just curious, Thor. I mean, I know that I'm just jumping in here, but what is the one thing in your bag that you think that people will tend to not bring, but it's very important if you're doing you're traveling this much, give. I'm just curious. What have you learned to bring
I
that
think
is very important?
I think people should bring a pen. I don't know if people would normally pack a pen when they go to travel because they maybe just assume that there will be a pen whenever they need it or they can borrow one. But I've found a pen to be extraordinarily useful, especially when you're crossing as many borders as I do. There's a lot of paperwork to fill out at immigration and customs on either side of the border. And there's usually a lot of people there, and people are always asking for pens. Do you have a pen? Can I borrow that pen when you're done? And this kind of stuff. So it's just good to have your own pen. But the pen is also great for when you meet people. If you don't speak the same language, you can make a drawing. You can draw a bus, or you can draw a pizza, or you can draw whatever you're trying to explain. And they can look at it and go like, pizza, yeah, this way. Or if you're in a country where you cannot communicate with the taxi drivers, then you could have someone write down the address and write it down in their language as well. So say you're in an Arabic country, then they can write it down in Arabic. And you look at it and you have no idea what it says. And you give it to the taxi driver and he goes like, la, ma fish muskula. And then he drives off and delivers you where you need to go. So there's that as well. Then when you meet people, maybe you want to take down their phone number for WhatsApp or something like this, or their email address or their Facebook account, it's this kind of stuff, so you can stay in touch with them. And it's great to have a pen. They can write it down, you can write it down. So the pen has been super useful. And I don't think most people, when they're packing, they're going like, did you remember the pen? We must bring a pen. So that could be one thing.
Perfect. So from something so useful like a pen to something pretty useless like a pointless skill. And this is the show where we give you a platform to showcase that. So you've traveled to so many countries, you must have picked up a pointless skill. Do you have one to share with us?
Well, I've got a pointless skill which I had before traveling. I didn't acquire that while traveling here. But for whatever reason, my thumb can bend over this way, can bend over backwards like that. So I don't know if we get the right angle.
You can see that,
Yeah, we can see that.
And I don't really know why it does that. But I mean, I have direct control over it. So it also goes the other way. No problem, but it's over back.
Yes.
That's pretty useful.
Yeah, well, we were discussing this earlier, saying that it might be useful if you if someone puts handcuffs on you for whatever reason, then you can just do that with your thumb and then it slips off. But let's hope you never need to try.
Yeah, you're Houdini.
Yes.
Okay, well, so your thumb can do stuff. Now, we want you to just look around because I'm sure in your travels you picked up a lot of items, from your travel. So, can you show us two of them?
Yeah. So I'm going to go with this. Does this show on the camera? Can you see?
Yeah,
a little.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so this is something I picked up So I picked this up in Afghanistan. I was introduced to some people in Herat, which is the second largest city in Afghanistan. It was a city which was founded by Alexander the Great. And I was treated with a lot of love and kindness and curiosity, and they were showing me the best of everything. They wanted to buy grapes for me. They wanted, do you want grapes? I go like, oh, sure, why not? Which type of grapes? I go like, well, grapes. They go, oh, you don't understand. In Afghanistan, we've got 30 different types of grapes. Which ones do you want? I go, oh, I don't know. Give me a selection. And at one point, I wanted to go and buy something for my fiance at the time, my wife today. And we went to an old shop which had all sorts of, it looked like really historical. It could have been stuff that was stored for hundreds of years, who knows. And they had these bracelets. And some of them would be decorated with rocks like this. This is sort of like a precious stone or something similar. It has a bluish kind of color. And I found a bracelet for her. And then I saw this one, and I decided I was going to buy this one as well, just for me to as a memory of Afghanistan.
Wow.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
So secondly, there's something that I wear. This is really unique to me. This is special. Oh, let me see if I can. So
You can see it.
forward and
We can see it.
Okay.
So there's a small
on it?
Viking.
It's a Viking?
There's a Viking there.
Viking.
Yeah.
Thor.
And then there's also a small ball that says love, and it says family. And
Aw.
it's made of silver. And I have 2 younger siblings. And before leaving home and embarking on this, they gave me a little Viking and the silver
Aw.
ball with love and family. And I do not have a lot of things that have been to all these countries that we've visited over the past 7 years, but this one has. So that's really precious to me.
That's
Wow.
lovely.
It's a piece of home with you.
It is, yeah, a piece of family.
Yeah, there you go.
Family is everything, and family is so important. And we want you to tell us more about them. Can you tell us more about your parents? Like, who are they? What did they do?
Yeah, so my parents are 2 completely different people. They are yin and yang. And my father is from Denmark and my mother is from Finland. And my father is a businessman, a salesperson, and he's a great entertainer. And he's very punctual and gets up early in the morning and has his routines and listens to the news on 2 different channels and gets his information about sports. So he's prepared to go out and meet with people and can talk about different things. And money, he always puts money aside for a rainy day. So in case something unsuspected happens, he knows that he has some extra money that he can draw and this kind of stuff. And my mother is not that person. My mother is adventurous and entertaining. And she studied journalism at one point early on in her life, but didn't quite complete it. And she's been a tour guide on and off throughout her life. She was a stay-at-home mom throughout my childhood. So my mother was always there and took care of us. And she would bring me to the forest where she would collect mushrooms and tell us stories about trolls and talking trees and this kind of stuff. And I can illustrate the difference between my parents by explaining how it went down when I told them that I was going to do this. So I wanted to go to all the countries in the world in an unbroken journey without flying. And I'd planned it. And the first one, my parents are not together anymore. They've been divorced for 25 years or more. And my mother, who's from Finland, moved back to Finland. So she's living on a small island up there now. And my father lives in Denmark. So the first one I went to was my father. And I brought a map. And I told her, listen, I have something important. I want to tell you about this. And he was so disappointed. It really felt that he was very proud of my career within shipping and logistics and the different places I've been working around the globe and the responsibility I had and my career path was lined out. And he was really happy about that. And he saw me throwing it away with this project. He was worried that no one would be able to take me serious again and that I would never get a job again. And I really had to sell this project to my father and talk about future prospects and what this would mean for other people and how it could inspire and motivate people and how this could bring some more visibility to the Red Cross and people might donate more money to the Red Cross and get involved and get a deeper understanding about humanitarian work. And I was really, really selling it. And he sort of came on board and eventually went like, well, you're a grown man. You can make your own decisions. Just know that I would probably not do this if I was you. And then just to finish that story, say that 1 month after leaving Denmark, and by the way, my father drove me to the border. So he was supportive right from the beginning. He drove me to the border. But 1 month after leaving Denmark, he was the proudest father in the world. He was so happy. There was a newspaper in one of the major newspapers in Denmark. It was a 4-page newspaper, and 1 page was just my face. And now he could show this to all his friends and say, look at my son and all this. So he came on board. So I remember when I went to my mother, and back then my mother was still living somewhere in Denmark, and we were walking down a quiet street, and the weather was beautiful, and there were no cars on the road, no traffic. And my mother is looking at the nearby trees, and she's pointing out different trees and going, that looks like an apple tree over there, and that's a pear tree, and that one is peaches. Oh, there's another apple tree, and oh, there's another pear tree. So I think that there's something was here historically once. And I go, oh, that's great, Mother, but I want to tell you something. It's really important. So I might not be home. I might not see you for many years. I will be going to every country in the world in an unbroken journey, completely without flying. And she looks at me and goes, yeah, I also like to travel. I think there's another apple tree over there. And maybe there was an orchard or a farm here once. It was like telling her that I was going to the dentist or something similar. But again, my mother is very deeply involved and super supportive, and she writes me all sorts of text messages all the time and sends me photos and lets me know how she's doing. And she's active on Facebook. So if I post something, she comments and she likes and so on. So I have a lot of support from my parents.
Oh, wow.
And you just got married. You just got married.
Got married on... Well, so we got married online, which means that my wife got married on December 19th, 2020, last year, and I got married the next day on December 20.
You got 2 different anniversaries.
Time difference. Yes. We got engaged in 2016 on top of Mount Kenya. That was that photo you just showed.
Yeah.
That was on top of Mount Kenya, in Kenya, of course. And there's a wonderful story behind that. And then now, 5 years later, we're married. But technically, we're not married in Denmark, because Denmark does not accept that people get married online. In Denmark, they go like, that's a little bit too futuristic. You must be in the same room, the same country, the same everything. So it's not accepted in Denmark, but it is accepted in Utah, in the United States, where the agency is, which arranged for us to get married online. And it's also valid in Hong Kong, where we are now. And that's why I was able to bring her here to Hong Kong.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And so, has it been difficult? Because you mentioned you met each other 5 years ago, right? And then you've been traveling a lot. What was it like being apart? And I love the fact that you were growing your beard and you don't want to cut it off until you see her again. That's really sweet.
Yeah, it's a great way of seeing how long it's been since the last time we saw each other. So when it's short like this, you know she's probably in the next room. And then when it's down here, you're gonna like something went wrong in their relationship when it's touching the floor. We met 8 years ago at a wedding in Denmark, or her friend's wedding and my friend's wedding. So we were there, and it was no coincidence that we were seated across from each other. That was arranged by our friends, this kind of stuff.
Aww.
And we began dating, and then this project began, and we decided to stick together, although we would be apart. So long distance relationship, and she stayed behind in Denmark, and I went from country to country to country. And she came out to visit me as frequently as possible, which would typically be every 3 to 4 months. And she's been out to see me 22 times across all of these years now. When she came on her 10th visit, that was Kenya. And that's when I surprised her. I had a ring and brought her on top of the mountain and got on one knee and asked her the question. And then this is now the 22nd time that she comes out to see me. And it's definitely hard, but I don't think it's as hard as it could be. I think we're good at being together while being apart. I think we are good at communicating, and this is also modern times. You go back 40 or 50 years, you would have to send a fax or a letter and wait for the mailman and this kind of stuff. And today you send a message when you get up in the morning, and then the other one has that message within seconds. And you do video calls with great ease, no matter where you are in the world. So that helps a lot. But long distance relationships are work. And anyone who's ever been in a long distance relationship, they know that it is work, and you need to pay attention, and you need to do your part to be involved and engaged. Otherwise, they cease to exist. And it does help that she's been out to visit as many times as she has.
Here. I can relate to that definitely. Now, speaking of technology that helps, can you get your phone out right now? Because we'd like to ask you to do something sweet for us. We'd like you to pick someone in your life, someone that's there on your phone, and leave a meaningful voice message to him or her. You don't have to tell us who. We just want to eavesdrop on the message that you will send.
Okay.
So just leave a meaningful voice message.
You ready?
We're ready.
Hej, min lille Le. Jeg elsker dig meget højt, og jeg ved, du er lige på den anden side af væggen. Og nu får du en lydbesked.
Okay. What did you just say?
Well, that's not a part of the deal. You got to hear the message. And in case you speak Danish, then you will have access to that message.
Okay, I will post the comment here. Anybody can decipher that message.
I sent a message to my wife, who's on the other side of the wall, so she could hear it straight through the door. And I told her that I love her very much.
Oh.
So we normally get our guests to leave a message, and then we'll say that at the end of the show, if that person replies to you, let us know, and let us know who that person is. You're the first on the show to reveal everything. That's great. Just across the room, so thank you for that.
I'm very honest.
Very honest.
So we've been talking so much about your travels, and it's fascinating about your childhood, your parents. But the main thing is we want to know what made you decide to embark on this journey. What made you decide to go, you know what, uninterrupted trip, I'm going to travel to every single country without flying?
It's a good question, and there are many different answers to that question, and all of the answers are true. It just depends on how you want to attack the question. One easy answer is to say, why not? There's this entire world out there, and we know very little about it on an individual level. And by crossing borders and meeting people, you will discover so much more than anyone can ever teach you. And you're likely to learn something about yourself in the process. You'll come home with knowledge about culture and food and geography and fauna and flora, and all these new contacts and friends. And so why not? Why not go out and do it? If you have the possibility, if you can organize it, why not? Something else is that this has never been done before. So if you can believe that, less than 300 people have made it to every country in the world. And all of them flew at some point in order to accomplish that. But less than 300 people on a planet with 7.5 billion people have been to all the countries in the world. And to sort of put that in perspective, you can look at space and astronauts, because we have more than 550 people who have gone to space. So you have far more people who have gone to space than every country in the world. And then the highest mountain on Earth is Mount Everest. And more than 5,000 people have gone on top of Mount Everest. And less than 300 have gone to every country in the world. And then I discovered that no one has done it completely without flying. And that captivated me. And I felt that I had a chance to go out and do something unique and remarkable, something that could belong to only me, but something which I can share with the entire world, and something which hopefully could inspire and motivate people in the process. So that's a different way of answering the question. And a completely third way would be to say, I don't know what the future looks like, but I do think that it's going to be a future with more people and possibly with less jobs, due to a lot of computers and machines taking over, as we already see today. It's not sci-fi. And some of these ships that I'm sailing on board, it used to be a crew with 50 people on board, and now it's 23 or 24 seafarers on board the ships. And so I wonder if I will have job security in the future. And if you want to generate job security for yourself, then one way of doing it is to have something that's unique, where no one else can replace you. And if I'm the only one or the first one to go to all the countries in the world without flying, then that will belong to me for the rest of my life. And I can perhaps write a book and tell my stories and go out and entertain and educate at schools and universities and companies and so on. So that was certainly also a consideration.
Amazing, amazing. I bet that's exactly what you prepared and how you told your dad when you were about to embark on this journey, that whole presentation.
That was a big speech.
I was much more over the place back then.
And I know that based on all your travels, I mean, you must have learned so many lessons. But if you could choose one, what is one lesson that you've really, really learned and taken to heart from that?
I think that one thing is to sit at home and understand, yeah, we're all people. We have two eyes and a nose, and we see and we taste and we love and we feel, and we're all people. Yeah, I know that. There's no big difference between one person in one country and another one somewhere else on the planet. One thing is to understand that. Even for the three of you, when you're listening to me, I think that you're fully capable of understanding that we share this bond, we have a connection across the planet, that there's no big difference between us depending on where we come from or what our income group is or which religion we grew up. But something else is to see it and experience it and know it. And I know for a fact that we are the same, that we have endlessly much in common across this planet, and there's very, very little that separates us. And for some odd reason, we spend so much time focusing on that tiny, tiny part that separates us, and very little time focusing on all that stuff that makes us the same. We get stuck in traffic and dislike it. We take selfies, we update social media. A mother loves her child. No matter which border you go across, you'll find that to be true. People that like good food, people they don't like rain too much, people they talk a lot about the weather, people don't like to be cold, people don't like to be hungry, people they do like to have safety and security. People they talk about many of the same subjects. We have so many subjects that are universally global, and people talk about that. People they joke, people have fun with each other, people they love to dance, people they love to have a good time. We are so connected. And one thing is to hear it and say, yeah, I understand it. But something else is truly to know it because you've seen it.
It's truly inspiring to hear that's the lesson you brought back. And it's so true. We've got so much more in common. And based on all your travels, what are you surprisingly brave about?
Surprisingly brave about?
Yeah.
I don't understand the question. What do you mean?
So that means when did you think that you or faced with a situation that you were surprisingly brave about?
Or something I've done where I was surprised about how brave I was in the moment?
Yeah. Was it facing something you had to eat and you weren't comfortable with? Or were you in such a situation where first thing to do was to freak out, but then you thought, oh, you know what? I was quite surprisingly brave about that. I actually handled that really, really well.
I would have to twist it a little bit and then go with what you just said, something that I handled really well. I was in a really unfortunate situation years ago where I was inside a vehicle that was fully packed with people. It was a Toyota Corolla where you can comfortably be 5 people, but we were 11 people inside. And we also had all our luggage, and it was an old car, and it was a terrible road, and we were going really, really fast. And this was the day after New Year. So basically everyone in the car had been partying quite hard and were tired and hadn't had a lot of sleep. So they were falling asleep very quickly within this car. And I was in the back seat, and I was watching the driver, and I saw that the driver was nodding off a little bit. And then eventually it happened, and he just went like, and then the car was going towards a cliff wall, and on the other side we had trees, and we were going fast. So there was no way that was going to end good for us. And we were in the kind of environment where there probably would be no ambulances whatsoever. And even if there was an ambulance, it would take forever for it to arrive. And if it did arrive, they wouldn't have the necessary equipment or training to handle all the mass casualties we would have had with that vehicle. That vehicle would have been severely damaged and probably flipped over several times. And that could have been a really horrible situation. But what happened was that while I was on the back seat, without thinking, there was no consideration. I just leaned forward and grabbed the steering wheel, and then I corrected us back up on track. And we kept going with the same speed, but then continued straight on the road instead of going into the cliff wall. And it wasn't a choice. It was just a reaction. I was in the situation and I just acted on what happened. And then the driver woke up instantly and was really upset with me because I had my hand on the steering wheel. And then he gradually realized that he had fallen asleep, and that's why I had my hand on the steering wheel. And he just kind of nodded towards me, and then he didn't fall asleep again, and we kept going.
Wow.
Yeah. But I don't feel that I was brave because it wasn't a choice. I think bravery is probably if it's something that you're afraid of and you go ahead and you do it anyway. But I handled the situation well.
Be brave, yeah.
Yeah, it's lightning fast reflexes. Because some people would actually just freeze at the moment. I'm not sure how I would react, but that's really quick.
Yeah,
that's quick thinking.
Yeah, it was a good. Well, there was no thinking. It was just pure reaction. Yeah.
Wow.
Did you find that your instincts sharpened when you did this project when you were traveling?
For sure. Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Your survival instincts are sharper now.
Yeah, in the sense that I can read people a lot better than I could when I left home. So I can look at people's gestures and their facial expressions, their eyes and their mouth and their breathing and all of this, and I just put it all together. And then I can more or less see, not every time, but I can quite frequently see if someone is lying or is trying to cheat me, or if it's someone that I can trust or someone I can not trust, and so on. And I think that has helped me many times. And I think that was developed out of necessity. I've been in some environments where you had to make good calls several times a day, or else things could go badly really quickly. And by trusting a lot of these people, I've had incredible experiences. So what I would tell people to trust other people. I think 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, you can trust people and you should say yes, and you should let them help you, or you should, if they invite you somewhere, you should go with them. But you should also trust yourself. I mean, you should, if something feels wrong about the situation, then say thank you and walk the other way.
Wow. I mean, it's an amazing point of view. I mean, you said before in your blog that your mantra is, a stranger is a friend you never met before.
Right.
Have you always had this mantra, or is it just because of your travels that you realize this?
I have not always had that. We designed this project. Some friends and I came together and got everything ready, the website and the project logo, and we found our partners. Where do we go here? There. We got the Geop and Ross DK, and we got everything together. And we decided on the name, Once Upon a Saga, and we also decided on the motto. And the motto comes from a Danish song where they sing in Danish, and they sing, "En fremmed er en ven du bare ikke har mødt endnu." And if you translate that, it becomes, "A stranger is a friend you've never met before." And when I left home, I felt that's nice. I would like that to be true. That works as a really good motto for this project. And within a couple of weeks of traveling and meeting people and seeing new countries and new places, I knew it was true. I'd had so much help and support from people I'd never met before. And till this day, I look back and I say, it would be wrong for me to say that I went to 194 countries on my own. like I did this, look at me, I went to 194 countries without flying. That would be wrong, because I've been carried by people. I've had so much support that you have absolutely no idea. It's everything from people cheering on me when I needed it to people. The first 5 months in Hong Kong, I was staying with a family that said, we hear you're coming to Hong Kong for a few days, and do you want to stay in our guest room? And as the pandemic broke out, they just extended it, and I ended up staying with that family for 5 months. These are people I've never met in my life, and it's a key example of that a stranger is a friend you've never met before.
Wow. Okay, well, in your travels, you met a lot of people. Is there one person that you would say is the most interesting person you've met?
No. I've met several interesting people, and at various times I can pull out different people and say that one was a really interesting person, or that's a really, really curious persona. But often when it falls on this subject, I pull out this guy. He's Italian. He was an Italian captain, and I met him in Cuba. And he was working for a woman who's a multi-billionaire. And she was Cuban. And she's been living somewhere in Latin America and recently moved back. And his job was to go between Miami in the United States and Cuba in a high-performance yacht. And you can't do that, or you couldn't do that at the time. The United States Coast Guard wasn't okay with boat trips from the US to Cuba and back again. So he would have to go to a private island in the Bahamas. And this was an island which was just for millionaires and billionaires. And we made friends in Cuba, and he said, no problem, I can bring you to Bahamas so you can get on your way. And from the first moment he met me, he said, I'm going to help you. And this is why. We live in a world where I see that less and less people are helping each other. There's less and less support across this planet. So for that reason, I'm going to help you. And he did give me that boat ride, but not before showing me all sorts of interesting places around Cuba, which I can't really talk to you guys about. And also telling me some stories from his past. He, before working for this woman as her private captain on the high performance yacht, he was working on some luxury yacht where A-list celebrities would rent it. And he told me a story about a woman that everybody knows. Everybody knows. I don't care which country I go to. If I mention her name, people, they go, oh, yeah. And she wanted to lie naked on the front of the boat under the moon, so she would get the power from the moon when she was lying there. And he told me stories like, and I just went like, this guy has seen it all. This guy has done it all. He was really, really interesting character, and he helped out within this project as well.
Wow, these James Bond stories do exist after all. They live. Well, if it was clean, is there a lesson or story from your travel that you could tell your future grandkids that you could tell them? A lesson that you've learned.
I'm sorry, there was a bad connection there for a second. A lesson I can tell my future grandkids.
Yeah. What's the key lesson you think you've learned?
I would say, dear future grandkids, I wish that you will find the time and find the resources to go out into the world with an open heart and an open mind and meet people, cross borders, make new friends, and then create your own opinion about this world that we live in.
Wow, that's a really nice way. That's a really nice message to your future grandkids. And how do you think you'd like to be remembered? Widely, beyond your grandkids, how do you think you'd like to be remembered?
I would like to be remembered as someone who stood out in a good way and did something which wasn't completely selfish, in order to help people see the world in a more clear and hopefully a better light than what it's often referred to in mainstream media.
Wow. And you're doing that. You're doing that around the world. I mean, it's worked, you know, you've
I'm
had
trying.
that. You have had that impact. And
Well,
is there any advice? Is there any advice you think the 8-year-old future Thor would give the Thor of today?
The Thor of today or the Thor of 7 years ago?
Thor of today. The Thor of today.
I think the guy in the future would tell this guy right now, this guy sitting here talking to you, to take it easy. Don't spend too much time on the little things. Pick your battles and do it wisely. Don't relax a little bit. Have a little bit more fun. I think that's what that guy would say. Don't take everything too seriously.
Don't take anything too seriously. And I
No,
know
not
that
anything. Don't take everything too seriously. Take something seriously.
right, got it. I need to be clear on those two, the difference between anything and something.
Yeah, driver falling asleep, take that one seriously.
Seriously, being a pirate on Legoland, take that seriously.
Yeah, take that seriously too.
Yes, be a serious pirate at Legoland.
Thor, thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us building this time capsule. It's wonderful listening to all your stories. Honestly, we could sit here for hours and hours and hours and just peel the layers. And there's so many things so much knowledge that you can impart to us. And I know that we talked about you giving lessons to your future grandkids, but now's your chance to leave a message, right? Just a message, and just picture this in the future. And at least now you have imagined yourself as a grandfather with the beard, and you said you look like your dad. Imagine you're that person now, and you get to leave one message to your future grandkids. What would you tell them?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we did that already. Yes, I kind of answered that. But I would go with Dear Future Grandkids. I do hope that you will find the time and the resources to go out into the world and cross borders, meet new people, make new friends, and see the world with your own eyes, and discover which planet we live on and what is to be trusted here in this world.
Thor, I just want to say thank you for being our guest today. You said a lot of things that really will stick in my head. But among them, it's that philosophy of yours. And I'm not sure if this is really what your philosophy is, but when you said that, people have to trust each other more, that people are there to help, I think that's really refreshing to hear, especially in these jaded times. So thank you very much for that.
My pleasure.
I think everybody's just dumbfounded now.
Yeah.
Like, we want to be you.
No.
We're your grandkids.
No, you don't.
I want your stories.
Yeah, I want your stories.
These stories, they do come at a very high price. So I'm happy that I have these stories, but if I could go back, I would not do this. I would definitely tell myself, turn around, don't do this, stay at home.
Wait.
But I'm here now, and I don't want to give it up. I'm really happy with everything I have, but it came at a high price.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I can imagine there are many moments like that, but you're so close to the end. 9 countries to go.
Yeah, it's a small number, but they're spread out, and they're all island nations, and it's not going to take less than a year. And that's if we had no pandemic. So it feels like I'm far away.
Well, we'll be monitoring your progress. We're your fans. I'm following you already. Once Upon a Saga.
Thank you very much.
So thank you, Thor, once again, and thank you to all our lovely viewers. There was one viewer, by the way, Cleo Sky. Her 7-year-old son wanted to ask Thor what his favorite country was and why. I think Thor answered that. That's Iceland, right, Thor?
Yeah.
I don't really like pinpointing a favorite country, but if I can twist the question, I would go with where would I live if I couldn't live in Denmark? And then I would answer Iceland, because it is a great country. But I have about 194 favorite countries right now.
Good answer. Good answer. And you're welcome in all of them, I'm sure. So thank you again to all our viewers. Watch out for Thor in your country.
Yeah, and thanks, Cleo, because I know, Cleo, you've been watching every episode so far, and you've always left a comment, and you've been watching live. And I'm glad you're watching with your son as well, because I think it's really inspiring to hear Thor's story. So thanks. And if anyone wants to leave any comments or any suggestions for future guests, just drop us a line, Idea First Company, any of our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube comments. We read every single one. So thanks for that.
And thank you all for watching Dear Future Grandkids. And I'd just like to apologize if you've been listening to this live broadcast. You've been hearing thunder and lightning. It's coming from my place. It's coming from Singapore because it's raining cats and dogs now. So maybe you can hear the sound effects and you can't hear quite clearly. I'd like to apologize for that. But it's an amazing episode, Thor. Thank you so much. So I've been Jen, Joey. That's Percy, Chandler, and Ange, Monica, and Thor, Ross.
Indiana Jones, definitely outside of our league now. James Bond,
you so much.
James Bond,
We'll
Thor.
see you the next time. Take care, everybody. Bye, bye. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks.
See ya.
Thanks for watching.